Are you excited about our guest today?
I am really excited.
Scale of 1 to 10.
Because, this is like a 9.5, 10. He's going to say, why not?
Why not 10? Why not 10? Immediately. All right, that's it.
Because Orson Welles is dead.
Right, yeah.
I'm a huge, how are you not a huge fan? I mean, you grew up watching him, and also, he's taking jobs away from dramatic actresses.
He's taking jobs away from me.
He's in everything.
And I still like him. What do you think of that?
It's dramatic. It's action adventure. It's The Boys. It's Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It's Mad About You Redux, comes back.
For a guy with an everyman face and a really, I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. I'm saying it's not A to Z. You know what I'm saying? He's not Brando. But he's
I love Brando.
He's done.
Brando singing in comedy is the highlight for me. The thing he did with that monitor lizard. Oh my God!
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But no, Paulie is he's done it all.
And what the really is, 32 years you waited to do stand up.
Well, that's the thing. Now here's the thing, because I haven't done the deep dive. I know Paul primarily as an actor, because I first remember the first time I remember seeing Paul's work was in Diner. Right?
Yeah.
You with me? So I didn't know him as a stand-up prior to that. And I kept hearing, stand up. And so for me, I go, it's even more of a really, because I go, you never did stand-up. Why now you're going to do stand-up? But it's a return to the roots. And I guess is what
now
it
you're
is.
Shatner. What balls would it take that he drove all the way here from wherever?
Yeah.
And we just did this.
We just do this. We don't talk to him the whole time.
What he did, just talk about him in front of him.
Yeah. And speculate what his answers might be.
That'll be fine with me. I would drive somewhere to watch two people talk about
Please welcome to Really, the great, and I do mean that, one of
Thank you,
the
gentlemen.
funniest guys out there, and a lovely human being. Proven by the fact that he's willing to come down to the Van Nuys Airport.
And by the way, not knowing from comedy, anybody under 30 probably thinks you're dramatic. From Aliens on, thinks you're a dramatic actor.
My favorite thing, and I hear this a lot, is friends will say that their teenage kids will go, what? The doctor from Stranger Things is going to try to be funny? And I go, okay, first of all, tell him I'm not a doctor, really. Yeah. And I'm actually a stand-up. But, and I did take 20 years off doing stand-up, not intentionally, but just as it turns out. So it's understandable. But, I think of myself as a stand-up first. But as you was talking, we were in an acting class together for a brief with Larry Moss.
Larry Moss?
Yes.
That's right.
That's where I think I first met you, and it was way before Seinfeld.
That would be probably 80.
I remember just big,
83?
thick locks of hair.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that would have been...
That was a while ago.
Yeah,
This was
that was
1913.
John Hamm. You're confusing us. It happens all the time. But seriously, because I never asked you this, because how often have we chatted about this stuff? So when you were a kid, you weren't thinking actor, you were thinking comic?
Yeah. They were sort of meshed. I don't think that you're in fourth grade thinking I want to do Othello, but performing. So it was like the blanket performing. So in elementary school, you'd write an essay, a composition, a story, and my recollection is you could read it aloud if you'd like. And I would go, yeah. And I would volunteer because really? I wanted the laughs of the 18, 20 kids.
Yeah.
And even then, this is how dumb and ill-advised, I would put in subtle jokes that only one guy would get. And the rest of the class would go, But like I was always working the back of the room, which is death, is silly, but it made me happy. So it was always performing and getting laughs was the thought. But you'd be in a school play. I remember in college I did Guys and Dolls, and I was not in the theater department. Yeah. It was like the dorms putting on a silly thing, and I even fell into that by accident because some guy dropped out. And I loved getting the laugh. And I was like, and I loved the excitement, and I loved getting ready. Oh, we got a show. It's only 9 more hours till showtime, that. But I knew there were 4 solid laughs that I would get that made me realize, that's what I like. And we'll get through the bullshit of dancing and singing and stuff. But
the reason I find it interesting, because I talked to Jerry about this too. Jerry said, I assume it's still true, that his preference by a landslide is stand-up because he loves the thrill or the challenge of working in one.
Yeah.
And I find, like I talked to Kevin Pollak about that too, and he likes that too. He likes working in one. I went into acting because I spent my life in one, and I wanted to have a community, and so it was always the communal aspect of being in a show or being in a film that drew me to it. I find that a lot of comedians I talk to are very intimidated by the community work of being an actor, or vice versa. A lot of actors won't go near.
It's ironic because one of the things, yes, you're working in one, but one of the things that I loved when I did my little, theater experiences, but I also love in stand-up, is in fact the community. So yes, you're working in one, but you're all hanging out. You're all chiming in with, hey, what would be a great line after that? And you're with the other idiots, like, oh, these, your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So I think there really is a strong community. And it's interesting. I never felt comedians were really competitive professionally. I mean, you may say, jump on a line. If you're an actor, there's 11 guys go into the audition. One of you will get it. The other 10 will not. If you're a stand-up, there's a great gig. You'll do it this week. You'll do it next week.
Right,
so it's not a zero-sum game. So to that effect, there really was a community.
Yeah.
There is a community in stand-up, which I still love.
Well, you were that part of the Best Buddies thing with Jerry too, right? You, Mark Schiff, Larry Miller, didn't you do the New Year's Eve
and Michael
bridge
Hampton
walk in New
Kane?
York?
Yeah. We were, 5 idiots who said, it's New Year's Day. We got nothing to do. Nobody has a girlfriend. Let's go eat lunch. And then that became a tradition. We'll get through the New Year's Day thing. We did it for like 25 years or something.
And did you guys compare notes? Did Jerry and you talk? Did you guys always talk comedy, but like about this club?
No, we
that
wouldn't
club?
talk. No, in fact, almost not at all. But it would just be spritzing and having ridiculous laughs.
See, the best thing for this guy's been my friend for 30 plus years. When we're writing or doing something, if I can make him go down laughing, it's like a home run out of the park for me. It's the best feeling in the world. So comedians have that. When you look up to somebody and you just kill in front of them.
Well, but there is a like-mindedness. Like I said, you're in this together. You're in this little field because you're the same idiots. We were the guys that everybody else is going to Led Zeppelin and we're going to see Robert Klein.
Right.
When you find that community, and I remember one time, in fact, that group, it was Larry, Jerry, and myself and Mark Schiff. And so we were eating out in a restaurant, and the waitress said something silly, and there was an opening, and almost like we all went around instantly and did the same joke, but a little different. We went, wow, that was your take. That was your take.
Yeah.
And we just laughed at that, the fact that we had the same idea, and we all went a little bit different way.
So may I bring up, so I watched a comedy special, not before you were even booked, so I didn't do
that is really appreciated.
Obligatory. And
Thank
the thing that I singled out one thing, not that everything else wasn't brilliant.
you can,
But there was one thing that was, I got to be
I'm
very
okay.
careful.
I'm a lot more healthy than that opening implies.
What was wrong with
They're
my
nice for you.
So the
They're
thing
nice.
that got me, though, that's so brilliant, is we have had specialists on experts. On this show, I can't believe the top experts come on and talk about stuff. And one of the things that we're concerned with today is AI. And that AI is going to take over, and it's going to be smarter than us, and it's going to be more intelligent, and it's going to make decisions, etc. And you mentioned in your comedy special that the one thing, and I'm going backwards with this, the one thing that AI can't do is you're on a computer, and you get to that point when you're logging in and it says, "Are you a robot?" Right. So that's AI.
Yeah.
And the thing that throws off, apparently, that saves the planet is, can you tell out of these 9 squares? How many have a crosswalk? And I'm laughing I'm up alone at 3 in the morning. I'm laughing my ass off because you're going, crosswalk, no cross. Is that a cross? Not a crosswalk. No. Give me more. Bring. I'm liking it now. I'm in, but
I
keep
love
bringing
those
them.
tests because there are so few things that I'm good at, and those one I crush them. I go. I know I'm already in, but give me another one.
I don't cry because there's always like a piece of one
Yes.
in the corner of a blank thing,
Yes.
and I go, do I click on that?
Yeah,
And this is
well,
how
that's
you
it,
know
yeah.
it's a
Full
robot.
crosswalk.
Yeah,
AI's over.
yeah. You're either a robot or Jason Alexander. That's right. Yeah.
But you're right.
You're not getting in.
Yeah, there's one I go, some of them I try to trick you up. Palm tree. Well, it could be a ficus. Hey, not so fast.
Is that a school bus?
Yes.
Or is that a taillight from a car?
But it's interesting with the technology that advanced.
Yeah.
The one thing that stops a robot, we cannot identify a chimney.
That joke, and I'm
You put a
picturing-
chimney in, we're dead.
Picturing one of those rooms, those giant rooms with rows and rows and rows of computer stuff, explode like steam's coming up.
What happened to you, chimney?
It's like
School
what's it
bus.
called?
Yeah.
It's like you have a friend you can dial out to another
Right,
robot
right,
to see
right.
if
Yeah,
you
right.
can you beat this? Can you tell this is going? So brilliant. And your stuff, it's weird because after 32 years, how do you get motivated to find the stuff that's going to be relevant and entertaining
Or have
to
you
a
ever?
huge
Now you say you
crowd?
took a 20-year break, but were you? Man, you were writing and running so many other things as well. But were you keeping sort of a? Here's a little journal note I should make. That'll
No,
be funny.
not
Nothing.
real. No, I wasn't. I think the brain's always doing that anyway. Like that's funny, but I wasn't keeping it. Because I had never intended. There were a lot of comics who say, who just actually got into stand-up because they want to get discovered, and then they'll get a sitcom, and then they abandon it. Our group of guys, we just loved stand-up. That was the goal. So I never wanted to get out of it, and I only got out of it because like when Mad About You started, I don't know, Jerry managed to do it. Others did it. I was like, that's a full-time job. And my brain is dead. And if I have a month off, I'm going to sleep. So, and then I got really comfortable. And then the show was over. And I said, I'm going to take a year off. And I always wanted to get back, but I didn't want to just dust off the old act.
Right.
So I just kept waiting and waiting. I said, all right, it's time. And I just started really from scratch. I had 3 minutes of stuff. And it's funny you say, what's relevant? I'm not smart enough to make anything up. And I always thought I'm going to tell you what happened in my house. See if this is funny. And most people go, oh, that happened in my house. And George Carlin used to call it ooh yeah comedy. Like, oh yeah, yeah. So, but you find out that what you're going through is really universal. And what was nice about coming back after all those years, and now this is post Mad About You, so the audiences now, they know you and they feel comfortable. It really felt like getting together with old friends. It's like, we know what's happening. Those babies that we had, they're growing up now.
Right.
Oh, well, there's funny shit there. So it was way overdue. I wish I had, I don't know, but I wanted to, and I only was procrastinating because I wanted to do it well. And what I found was, it was exactly, going back and I was 60 or whatever, it felt exactly the same as when I was 18. I went on audition nights, like just as excited, just as nervous, it's just as challenging. And there's no shortcut. Like you can't,
Right.
you're not automatically better. No, you got to go up every night. And in a year, it was a year before I said, I can maybe try to sell a ticket.
You
and
did
do a
clubs,
full
you did
show.
club dates?
Yeah, yeah.
And
No,
test
even the
yourself.
first club date, I waited a year. I would just go to a club and do 15 minutes or 4 minutes, and then 8 minutes, and then 10 minutes, and I think I can do it. And the first club date, manager booked, and it was like 2 shows. I went, 2 shows? No, in one night? No, I'm in pajamas at 8:30. That's not going to happen. I can't do that. And to my surprise, so we negotiated down to 1. And then, of course, when it was over, I went, give me another show. And then I realized I missed this.
Wow. Well, it was great. Can I ask you a dumb question that I've never? This came to my mind. I thought Jason's going to kill me for asking this question. How do you decide what to wear? Whenever I watch a comedy special, I go, if you're wearing the wrong thing for an hour and a half, and your stomach and your thing and your dental show, it's going to be bad. How do you test out what you wear? Because you wear a very nice outfit that worked. The shoes worked. The pants. But I've
It's not a
noticed
dumb question, because it took me a while to realize I only feel comfortable with these shoes, and I like to wear jeans. I don't like to wear a suit. It looks nice, but I don't feel comfortable in a suit. And so I found a shirt. I went, give me a lot of these shirts, and I got a dozen of the same shirt. And then when it was special, I actually had a meeting with a wardrobe person. I said, well, this is not just me showing it chuckles. I have to. And they go, but you want to be comfortable. So I said, I'm just going to wear exactly what I wear. And if you need those shirts, by the way, I'm really willing
like
to.
the shirts. I like the blue monitor. I like the whole thing was good. But I'm watching you going, if it's wrong, you're going to be watching it going, oh man, I should have never worn those pants.
I would like to think that people put a little forethought. I think some don't. I see some people going,
you've seen stuff
put a
where
better shirt on.
Haven't you
You're in
watched
front of
it?
cameras.
Dude,
Yes.
you're watching a comedy show,
Yes.
and I'm distracted for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I go, really? Really? Look at, they wore that with an undershirt?
But there is a thing as we've all gotten older, and I would imagine you found this too. You find a uniform, whether it's for home or for work. It's like, let me do this. A, it's comfortable. B, I don't want to think. I remember Obama talking about that.
Yeah.
That one of the things, like when he got busy, he's like, I'm going to cut out all wardrobe decisions, except for one day I'm going to wear a cream-colored suit and
Right,
get shit for it.
right.
But that he stepped out of the zone and he got
Right.
he got in trouble. But it's like, yeah, just gonna. Here's what I wear. Here's what I do.
So is this it? Is this the uniform?
No, this is my Jason Alexander put on a sweater. No, but
I had a
yeah, but
category.
yeah. Basically, I'm always wearing jeans and a sweater, and if I step out, it's wrong. It
Do you
feels
still
wrong.
have clothing you wear from Mad About You, by
Oh,
the way?
for God's sake.
Because I'll tell you what,
You want them?
he's wearing 2 items right now from Seinfeld.
And we just talked about, by the way, if you're a constant listener, we talked about this in the last episode as well. Yeah,
Sure,
so
Seinfeld.
when the show went down, what do you take? I don't know what to take. So I took all my wardrobe.
I remember. Yeah, but that's 30 years now.
Hold up. Look at this shirt. This
No,
is
no,
I mean,
it's a
come on.
classic. It's
Yeah,
it's like
right?
a Hemingway of
And
shirts.
you don't throw out sneakers.
No,
What
you
do
don't throw. I remember the when you're doing a show, and we're lucky, we're privileged to be working on a show, and they dress you, and slowly you start dressing just like your character is you. Like, well, let's just close that gap. And then while you're doing a show, you go, I got to do a Tonight Show. I need a suit to get you a suit. I'm doing a thing. I have a wedding. Give me a suit. Cut to afterwards, I went, I haven't been in a store now. It's 9 years. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And so I got to get a show so somebody can buy me
Yeah,
pants.
I only get
And somebody
clothes
go, take those in. They're too baggy.
when I shoot something. That's when I get clothes. I have an insane foot. I have a 5.5 D. So it's 5.5. I wear a 6 shoe, but
5.5 is like those little boxing dummies with the little plastic
right.
feet.
It's a
That
child.
is correct,
it's a child's
sir.
foot.
So, really?
Yes.
I always found it a bit sad, little melancholy that when you're growing as a kid, you hit your final shoe size, but you don't know it. And if I knew it on that day, I would have liked to celebrate. I'm a 3, I'm a 6, I'm an 8, I'm a 9.
Yeah, right.
Oh, now it's staying a 9.
That's
But you don't know
right.
it till you're 24.
Yeah.
So that was it. I'm a 9.5.
You know
your
the
mother-
the other observation. This is. Oh, come on! I'm having a senior moment. Everybody loves Raymond. Ray. It's Ray's joke, but his joke is I didn't know the first time I slept with my wife that I was choosing my side for the rest of our time together, which is so true. It's these decisions you never realize is a decision.
Here's a phenomenon that I and my wife cannot figure out. We have our sides, and if we move to another house, it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go to a hotel, we switch it, and not deliberately. Not
no.
like, hey, let's freshen things up.
No.
We kind of go,
There's
whoa.
a rule. No, there's a rule.
No.
My wife gets the side closest to the bathroom. That's why we switch.
There is a slight element of macho. I'll have the closest to the door so that I can protect you.
Yeah, right.
My wife has that, so
Also,
she's
so
the
I can
first
run
to
the
get-
hell out.
She's the first. She's the yeah. I just shield. I never say it that way, but you really hotels you change up. Change it
Often
up.
we'll go, interesting, we switched. We didn't know why.
Yeah.
There was a couple.
I'm fascinating this way, Peter.
But there's a couple that I kind of wanted to book for this show because I'm looking for really no reallys. They got like 2 million hits because they did a video where they said we don't have sides, we switch frequently, and people went out of their friggin' mind. So there you go. Yeah, but then again, there are a lot of dead people. One last thing at the pants. Did your mom used to take you clothing shopping up to a certain age?
Through my 40s. Is that unhealthy?
So I want to know if this is universal though.
What's that?
When I would try on pants at Boys Town,
Yes.
once they were on, either the guy or my mother would go like this. They grab the pants and they shake you.
They belt by the belt.
Like by the belt, they shake you to see, and I never understood what that was. If there's room,
Checking for change.
did it happen to you? Yes.
Yeah, well, that sounds familiar. I don't remember the violence and the trauma. I had an uncle who was made like children's wear, or maybe grown, but he made clothing, and he would always go to hug. but he actually was never hugging. He would go, "Hey, how you doing? Who makes that?"
Checking the label.
Yeah, so I go, "How you doing?" Just look at the label.
I sold clothing
Yeah.
at a mall, and the owner told me that when you put the sport jacket on somebody and you put them in the mirror, you put your hand on them, but what you're really doing is grabbing extra material to make it look like it fits better.
No.
How about that?
Oh, what a sneaky thing.
I quit. I quit. I couldn't do that.
It's harder with the pants because you got to, pardon me.
You do this. You
There it is.
No, what you do
shake-
with the pants
shaking
is you pinch the seam at the tuchus line, and that shapes the hips a little. I know all the tricks too. My wife was in fashion for
So
many,
big question,
many
you stay in
years.
touch with Mickey Rourke?
He's in the car. He don't like to
trunk
come
or the
in. He's
seat?
shy.
We did a show, a comedy, one of the live comedy shows.
Yeah.
Where Jason hosted and we wrote the stuff together. Where Jason
Or I'm, in the audience. cutting
So
people
tell him
up.
what happened with Mickey.
Uh-oh.
All I remember is I approach him, and on the approach, he's waving me off, like a made man, and
He used to have, there was a period that he had his little entourage that would literally physically stop people from coming over.
Oh.
there was no entourage, and actually our material about Mickey was pretty nice actually, and he came up to me at the. I think this was Mickey Rourke. He certainly came up to me. He was very sweet. He said, "You're very funny. You're very funny." And he said, "You really should get out of the funny stuff. Do serious stuff." I went, "Good, thank
Well,
you."
thank you. Well, he tells
Okay.
you right to your face.
I'm
you know,
gonna
you
go right
shouldn't-
into
it's not for you. Not for you.
But some of your biggest, I mean, really, some of your home runs are in really serious stuff. Like, does that surprise you, or did you go, "Nope, I got this, no problem"?
No, it surprised me. I didn't really think too much about it. I remember, it was really Aliens was the first
Yeah.
thing. And it wasn't that it was dramatic so much. It was certainly non-comedic, but I looked at it more as like, this is going to be a huge fucking hit. And this is
knew?
like, oh,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, Alien, the first one was a hit.
right.
And
Yeah,
Jim
yeah.
Cameron had done
Yeah.
done Terminator. I
Right.
go, well, that's
Right.
a home run right there. And then I read the script and I go, wow.
Yeah.
And so I remember reading it, thinking, I have no business being in this movie, but I never had this experience since. I was out of breath reading it. Go, whoa,
Really?
Yeah, it was just, and it was written sort of like haikus, bam, slam, metal on metal, dog, and we're like,
Right.
it was just no bullshit. It was just visual. You could see it and hear it, and so my mission statement for myself was just do whatever you have to do so that when you're on screen, the film doesn't come to a grinding halt. That was the bar I set. Just, if people just go, oh, he's in the movie.
So what does that mean? Okay, because
Wait, did you have to go get it, or was it an offer?
No, it wasn't an offer. No, I met with Jim Cameron. I don't know that I read. Maybe I did. And then there was a long period of months because they had to look at every actor in the
Sure,
UK.
yeah,
They shot it in London. And apparently there is no one on the continent there who
sir.
can do what I do.
No, sir.
So they came back, and so, but I had kind of forgotten about it. It was like, you usually hear in a week. This is months. And then I was shooting some thing, and my manager shows up. You got it. What? Alien. I still go? Well, really? So I knew it was I was anxious. I was nervous. I wanted to do well. And an interesting thing that you will certainly appreciate as an actor, as it turns out, the first week or two of my shooting of the schedule, I was in scenes, but I had no lines.
Yeah.
So as a comic or as a performer, I go, well, what do I do? But it made me think deeper for the first time. So what are you doing? And you don't want to telegraph, like,
Right. Yeah.
But so how do you be so that anytime that they get you, you're
Right.
And by the way, it may be absolutely nothing is the right choice. But I never had to think at that
Yeah.
level because, like, usually you can skate on your performance, on your lines.
Sure.
It's like, no,
Right,
you got
no
nothing
performance.
right now.
But you show up and you sell likable and trustworthy, and then when you reveal that you're not,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. I mean, Stranger Things is kind of the same
Well,
area.
Stranger Things, I think they were trying to ride off of that image of like, we don't trust this guy, and he's replacing Matthew Modine, and he was terrible. His character was evil,
Right.
So, who turns out maybe not so much evil, but it's funny. I remember Jim Cameron saying that he wanted someone who the audience didn't really know, wasn't going to be a big star, but it was also somebody that would be amiable and you'd like him and you wouldn't be suspicious. Right. My recollection is that people, the minute I showed up, went, "That's wrong. Something's not right with this guy." Because also people were so trained to not like corporate people, the corporate weasel. Right. And it's sort of like the guest star on Star Trek. I go, he's going to be dead.
Yeah, this guy, the red shirt guy.
Yeah. One of these things is not like the other.
But you do sell it. I mean, you do sell
Thank
that.
you.
And in a big way. And obviously, they looked at 8 billion people. James Cameron can get a casting list that's forever to decide, you're the right thing. It's pretty amazing, right?
It was, there's a life to that movie that it was a big hit and people would often remember or recognize. But there are conventions, there are, sci-fis and Comic-Cons and that I've been to, and I'll meet people who go, "I watched that movie every Saturday for the last 36 years. I'm like, get out of the house, do something, get a job, don't tap paper.
Don't tap paper. Finally, somebody knows that.
Well, who shows up? Do they have someone? Do people dress up as the aliens?
They dress up.
Comic-Con?
Yes. They dress up in aliens. They dress up in the full stuff, and they bring in props that I'm going, is that from the actual movie? And it's like some of them
make it.
Yeah. It speaks to the success of what a good movie it was, and it still holds. If I'll catch it.
Oh, it holds great.
Wow, it's great. And so many movies after that sort of stood on the shoulders.
It's amazing being something that's that iconic. And I'm wondering, so you're at home writing stuff, and you're doing stand-up, and then you do Man About You. There's no guarantee it's going to be a hit. How many episodes in, and you went, "Whoa, this thing is got some heat"? Was it immediate, or did it take a while?
Well, there's two different ways to look at it. I knew immediately it was going to be good, and I knew the minute Helen Hunt came over to my house and we read it in my house before she even agreed to audition. And I just went, "Oh, this feels special." And then we did the pilot and well, is everybody? And the audience was like, "Yeah, this is working." Is it going to be a hit? That you don't know.
Yeah, that's a different story.
Because we didn't, it was actually, initially we were paired and the timing was, Jerry's show was just beginning to take off. So New York Jewish comic, New York, put that. But we weren't guaranteed anything. At like a second season, they go, "You should have a baby." We went, no, that's no good yet. And I think it wasn't really till the end of the second season when they go, "Okay, we're going to go." But the first season, you do 12 and then we'll pick up the back 9. And the second season, they were still trying to, but by the third season, they would take their hands off and say, "You guys obviously know what you're doing."
And did you have to take notes from network, or did you do much like Larry, where you said, "I'm quitting if you try and give me a note"?
Oh, I just had lunch with Helen Hunt, and we were laughing. She said, "You have a real allergy to notes." I go, I can't. So much so that when we did the revisit 5 years ago, it was Helen and Peter Tolan and myself, and we were like, it was really a well-oiled trio, but it was like, "You guys do the meeting. I can't. I'll soil myself." I said, "They'll give you 20 things. If 3 of them make sense to you, let's talk about the 3. But I can't hear the other ones." It's just.
Well, it's
but
hard.
How was it in the initial run, though? Could you push back against it, or did you have to?
It was, I had a partner in Danny Jacobson, and Danny would take the notes, and often he would, vet them, and so here's a good one. And sometimes they were good, and often they're just execs who feel like they have to put their fingerprints on it. Like, what if you do? I remember one who was a network guy. He goes, "What if Paul? What if your character was chewing gum?" I went, He could. What if he had toast? How does that help you? Is that a better show? Is there a toast demo that you're trying to get? But they also, but we knew early on, I think it was this, certainly in the first season, we knew that the success of the show, we wanted jokes, we wanted laughs, we wanted, fun, but it was the small stuff that people were tuning into.
Right.
And we did, and I've often talked about this as an example, we did the highest concept show. You always saw Seinfeld, it's a show about nothing. And we always say, well, our show's about the small things, about the little things, And then we had the biggest concept ever. It was, I invested in a virtual reality thing, but the issue was I invested our money and I didn't speak to her, didn't check it with the wife. And we come back, we're in bed, and it's just a two-shot, the two idiots sitting up in bed. And I said, trying to talk her into it. I said, you can do anything. You could ski. You could climb a mountain. You could water swim. You could go in the ocean. She's warming up. She goes, oh, well, what did you pick? I said, I got a massage from Christy Brinkley. And Helen just cocks her head ever so slightly. And I got a huge laugh and went, yes, because the show is about not what you did. It's like what the other person feels about what you did. When she cocked her head, I went, this is going to work.
But what's
but can I, if I may?
Yeah.
Let the man talk.
I think I may have delivered Helen Hunt to you. Because as she was considering the show, I think she had the offer on it. I found myself doing a short film that she was producing and she was in, and we were having lunch.
Never heard this.
And she said, would I like doing a sitcom? I said, well, what's a sitcom? She said, well, it's Paul Reiser. And I went, yeah. What is it, a audience? She said, yeah. I said, it's the best job you're ever going to have. Are you on the writing team? She said, I don't know. No. I said, it's the best job you're ever going to have. Why wouldn't you do it? Is it ensemble? She said, well, it's two-hander. I went, with Paul? Of course. Of course do it.
So thanks. Well, she was starting at that. It was 92, and she was starting to get some heat in movies. She worked as a teenager and done a lot of teen movies, and she was really on a roll. And I met her because my wife and they had a mutual friend, and we met at a little dinner party. And I went while I was writing it. I'm going, and she doesn't look like my wife. Was not at all what I was picturing.
Right.
But I left going, she's really intriguing. She's funny. She's lovely. She's just the right amount of goofy and neurotic, just the perfect amount. And I remember I turned to Paula and I said, what do you think of her as you? She went, it'll be good. But Helen's fear was that it was, going to be the wife in Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah.
Did you
ever hear the one about?
Yeah, and I'll do the joke and I go, oh, honey. I go. We were so she came to my house. She had read the script, and then I said, well, let's read it together. And then at that very first meeting, before she had even said yes, we talked about, I said, well, I want to do a show. We have to do, we had somewhere in this relationship story, one of them has to have an affair or the threat of an affair. And I said, and I don't forget who said it first, but we each had the same idea. Like, we'll have to do one shot. How about a whole episode of one shot? And we're like, yes. And we tried. It wasn't until year 5 that we found a story that could do that. But we had the same show in mind. Thanks for pushing her over the fence.
No, listen, it was just kismet, but it was so funny.
I never realized you guys did a short together.
Yeah, a little short film with Anthony
Edwards?
Yeah, Anthony Edwards played her husband.
Excuse me for a second.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you get something?
A little taste. You would
Big
think.
gift or something.
Right, yeah.
Oh, you know what? I left all my residuals.
You know
in
what?
the car.
You know what they did? I got to do a guest on the reboot.
You did us an honor.
I had a great time.
And Michael was
that's a thing, because we were going to say Mike Richards
was in the show, right?
Mike Richards did
Mike Richards
the original,
did an episode, yeah.
Yeah. It's always...
Jerry did an episode too.
Did he really?
We shot
the first time around? During the main?
Yeah,
oh,
we did a shot in New York, and it was literally a cameo. He walked by, and my character had taken a Viagra, and it was very pronounced. And you never shot below here, but you could tell something wrong. And I said, "Hey, Jerry," walking on the street, "How you doing?" He's like, basically, that was that.
And then you had the weird.
I'm a big fan.
The weird and interesting thing I remember in watching it was Lisa Kudrow being on 2 shows.
Yeah,
which was fascinating. That how did that happen? That she could stay on yours?
Because she's very talented. It's like, how did Michael McDonald be on the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan?
Well, that's the other thing. But we got to talk about that too.
But Lisa Kudrow, in the second, I think it was like literally our second episode, or somewhere in the first season, we did a flashback, like to before I met Jamie. I hated blind dates, and I had the worst blind date. It was with Lisa Kudrow, and we just cast her, and it wasn't that much on the page. She was so funny. She, as we know, but I mean, her line readings, we were just having this stilted conversation on a first date and a blind date. When what do you do? Oh, I'm a documentary filmmaker. She goes, oh, that's so funny. I'm a banker. I went, why'd you hit that so hard? That doesn't make sense. And we said we have to get her back, and so we made her not that character, but we brought her back and she was the waitress in the place. And I remember the day she said she's going to audition for another show because we only had her for like a few episodes. There was we didn't have her.
Right.
And I said, what's the other show? It's like 6 friends and they all live in New York in the same building. Well, that's not going anywhere. And then they embraced it, so they made her her twin sister. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Wow.
Amazing.
She had such an odd, delicious delivery.
Yeah. She fires fun.
So you mentioned Michael McDonald. You write. It's just one of those things. I go. So Michael McDonald has done a book.
Yeah.
With Paul Reiser.
Sure.
I went, okay. How does that happen?
That's the most natural thing in the world, Peter. It's not the first comedian and musician to write a book. Luciano Pavarotti and Carrot Top did a comedy.
I love that. Oh my God, I love that. Was when Luciano was.
I had to remember
was doing
Wait, that comment, which one's the musician in that one?
He was doing prop opera at that time, and Carrot Top said, "I can help you." Okay, all right.
Nice.
By the way, that'd be a book.
Leonard Bernstein and Emo Phillips collaborated.
Emo Phillips,
there you go,
ladies and gentlemen.
So I was a huge fan of Michael McDonald, and we met at a silly a party that I was invited to. He was performing. It was in somebody's house, and we walked in, and there's Michael McDonald. I go, this guy's doing well. He's got Michael McDonald as his house guest musician. And I just went over to him and started chatting, and we became friends. And I would always ask him these things, like exactly that. Like, I don't understand. What you could be in 2 bands? Don't they want their hold on you? And so I would ask him these questions over the years, and then I'd forget the answers. And I said, you should write a book, so I don't have to bother you every time I have a question. And he said, I've been approached. I don't know if I even have a story. And I go, you have a story? He goes, but I don't know how to write a book. I said, I've written books. I'll help you. So it was literally March 2020, COVID lockdown. We had nothing to do, and we had no jobs, and we both had to figure out how to work Zoom. It was like, look at this, you can see each other.
New technology.
And we didn't even meet for 3 years. We just we spent about a month talking like this, and I'd take the tape, I'd record it and type it up. So it was his story, and I just helped him. But it was interesting because he would go, I don't think that's interesting. I go, trust me, that's really interesting. And then other times he goes, this is so funny. I go, it is funny. It doesn't belong in the book.
Well, it's fascinating when telling your story. I guess, did he have revelations? Because you've written books, you've written bestsellers. Does stuff happen when you're writing a book that's like when you're writing a script for the first time, and it's like an out-of-body experience? Something gets written and you go, I didn't know I had that in me. I didn't know I fired that way.
Yeah. Well, in his case, there was no. We were just doing it on spec. Let's see if the safety net. I said the minute you don't enjoy this, we'll stop. I said, doesn't have to. This it costs us nothing to sit and have a coffee on Zoom. But what he discovered is that by the end of it, he said, "Oh, I do have a story to tell," because he's very humble, and he felt that his greatest stories were having worked with all these different people. I go, that in itself is. Who else can say I worked with Ray Charles and Quincy Jones and, everyone else? But suddenly, as the more he talked, these through lines come up where it was sort of an exercise for him of realizing, how did he get here? He was 72, and he started working professionally at 14 in a band, in like an 18-piece band. He's 14. And I said, tell me there's a tape. I want to hear 14-year-old, hey, what if you believe? He said, no, Sadly, the tapes were in a jacket that was Martinized. Do you know what that's from?
Oh, I remember Martin. Wow.
Do you know what that joke is from?
No.
From the In-Laws.
Chichi
flies with beaks?
Yeah.
Did you get pictures? Sadly, they were left in a jacket that was Martinized.
You both worked with Peter Falk.
Yes. What did you do with Peter Falk?
I did a 2-person play with Peter at the Geffen.
I saw it. I was there. Okay, here's a magic night. It was great. And he makes his entrance from the back of the theater.
Right.
So here's this magical night. I grew up adoring Peter Falk.
Yeah.
Peter Falk. I loved him, and I had this idea for years. I've been sitting on and would take a stab at it. I got to write a movie where Peter Falk plays my father. I don't know what the story is, but Peter Falk is my father. That's a story. That's something I got to do. I see you in that play, and I loved it. I loved you.
Oh, thank you.
Loved Peter. I go backstage, I guess, to say hello to you because I didn't know him, and I went, and I was, on Mad About You, and I was doing commercials, and so Peter says, he goes, I love you. I go, he goes, and he goes, I love everything you do. I love your show. He says, I love what you write. And I go, and I'm just like, thank you. And he just makes a point. He goes, I love what you write. Made it like he said it twice. I went, thank you, God. And I literally went home and I said, I got to write this fucking thing. If Peter Falk, it was such a moment of the skies open up. I said, here's the guy I've been wanting to write for. He doesn't know. I've never discussed it.
He's telling you.
And he's saying, go write it. And then I wrote it pretty quickly after sitting on it for years. It came up pretty quickly. I dropped it off at his house. Somebody told me, Joe Montaigne goes, here's his address. And I called him. He said, I'll read it. He goes, I'm a slow reader. I said, don't worry about it. I dropped it off at his house. And I sit by the phone. And he said, I'm going to read it right away. And I'm sitting. And about 11 o'clock at night, I go, he's not going. I take the dog out. The dog come back. Phone on the answer machine. I go, I missed it. And I listened to the message, and it's just Peter going, well, we got to make this fucking thing. And I went, thank you. And that would have been enough. I was like, I don't have to make it. The fact that he read it, he said it, and it was the greatest. It was.
Do you have a good time with him?
Oh, he's not the easiest guy.
He was not an easy man.
But he took a shine to me. He somehow knew how much I loved him.
Yeah.
So I was in a little zone of safety. He chewed the shit out of the director and anybody else. But I found, and I imagine you found this too, he was not an asshole. He just was really cared about the work. And he wanted to do his best work, I found.
I absolutely, I believe that's true. I would also go so far as to say, and this might have come with age because we worked with him. He was getting up there. I thought there was much like my dad, and they would have been contemporaries. They were not allowed to say, I'm nervous or I'm scared. So in lieu of being able to say that, everything else was wrong. Everything else was not right. The set's not right. The director's wrong. The story is a thing. And if you took the time to go, well, what would you like to do? How would you like to fix it? How should we address it? He couldn't articulate that. That's how I knew it wasn't those things, because he's very bright, and he was an artist. He was a beautiful painter, and so he knew about details. If he knew something was wrong, he would have spoken to it. And I found him to be fearful. And there was a complete personality change in him after our first audience. Once he knew that he knew what he was doing in this play, and it was reflected back to him, he became a totally different human being.
That makes sense. There was a documentary about Brando, and I love this story that, not Streetcar, On the Waterfront, the famous Rod Steiger scene that could have been a contender. Brando didn't want to do the scene. Right. You know the story?
I heard it from Steiger.
You win.
No, please, go.
But basically, he didn't want to do the scene, and he couldn't articulate it. And Ilya Kazan was the thing, and he goes, he's got the gun, and he's pointing at me, like, I don't know if I wouldn't do all that if the gun is at me. And the director, Ilya Kazan, goes, well, what if, like, after the first line, you push the gun away? And Brando goes, yeah, okay. It was that simple. Right. The fix was that easy, but throw out the whole scene because this doesn't work. And
then he didn't stay there to do the coverage for Steiger.
By the way, just if you guys are interested, I'm working at Universal Studios on Major Dad. And Rick Oakey has an office in the producer's building, and Peter Falk's doing Columbo, and he's still the biggest star at Universal. And Rick Oakey brings in a guitar one day, and we start playing and jamming. And we look up, and Peter Falk is at the door. And he goes, hi, I'm next door. It's a nice song. What's that song called? We don't have a name for it. There's no name for the song. It's a good song. It's a good. You going to play a lot? You guys playing a lot? Because I can move my office. If you guys going to play a lot? And he's doing Columbo. He's coming in and out, going, because it's fine. You like playing. I love music. You going to play a lot? You playing a lot?
Was that his way of saying it?
Shut the fuck up. I can move my office. Yeah, you're going to move your office. It was one, and he came in and out like Columbo. I couldn't believe it. Like 3 times. Never directly said the thing, but let us know. Yeah, this is not going to be working for me.
I'll tell you the last, because I got back to you, and we'll cut this out if the Falk stuff goes too long. But I said to him, and it was absolutely true. I said, Peter, you're in the greatest comedy ever made. And he said, the in-laws. I said, yeah. The minute I said the in-laws, he goes, what's your favorite scene? I said, favorite scene? I mean, I have a lot. I said, Serpentine is brilliant. He went, God damn it, I owe Arkin another $5. He didn't want to shoot that scene.
Yeah.
Arkin came to the set with that scene. He said, all right, Alan, a lot of the stuff in here is stupid, but this is stupid. This is stupid. We don't have to do this. And Arkin said, you are the dumbest. And he said to me, you are the dumbest Jew on the planet. This is the scene they're all going to be talking about. And Falk said, I said to him, I'll give you $5 anybody ever says this is your favorite scene in the movie. And he said, the only reason Falk said, the only reson I shot it is Arkin was so happy filming it. He said, to this day, if he could still be out there running around Serpentine, he would be the happiest guy in the world.
Yeah,
but
so I'm up one night, and we talked about this prior to that. I watched this movie because I can't watch stuff without my wife. You watch that without me, watch it. So she didn't know about this movie, The Problem with People. I had no idea what to expect, and I'm loving. It was such a sweet, funny, and I ruin it for everybody because I go, so these guys don't know. He goes over there, and the funeral happens. And he falls apart. He's knows the guy for 8 seconds, and no one else is as verklempt as he is. And I'm laughing out loud. But what a sweet movie.
Yeah.
But reading about you talking about it, if I get this right, your premise is that people's defaults are anger, any discomfort,
any two people, put them in a room, they'll find some reason to argue. It's like that old joke. You see that other synagogue? I wouldn't go to that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's that. It's that.
So that was, and then you work through it and find out if you do hang with each other, you're more like that person than not.
Well, I think, I'm not well read enough to know the difference between all the religions, and like, okay, but if you take the head of Sunni and Shiites, like, right. So what is the difference? Oh, so the Presbyterians and Episcopalians, the difference is what? It's like, what? And I remember, part of the impetus for the movie was The Problem with People is the name of the movie. You can find it on iTunes and Amazon Prime. I just wanted to go to Ireland because I loved Ireland, and I'd seen Local Hero, which was a nod to it in the movie. But I never had a story, and I couldn't come up with it. And finally, I said, well, what if there's and I wrote it with a buddy who I never met, but somebody suggested him as a writer, and we came up with this, like, there's got to be a reason, a conflict. So what if there's 2 relatives who've both grew up not liking the other one just because their parents told them not to? It's like, okay, that sounds rich. And how do they come together? So but one of the impetuses that moved me, I remember reading a story, it's probably 10 years ago. In Israel, there was a school that was literally down the middle, and half of it was Orthodox and half of it was sectarian. But they shared, in the yard, a sandbox. So the little 2-year-old Orthodox kids would be sitting in the sandbox with the non-religious, and the religious people made a line in the sandbox so their kids shouldn't
cross the line. Yeah.
And I thought, okay, Jews have no claim to being innocent on it. Like, we're all just fucking nuts. Like, you're afraid that your 2-year-old will enjoy, and that's why at the end of the movie there's children in the sandbox. But yeah, I think at bottom line, what do people want? Oh, I'd like to not get shot and like to not blow up. Me too. I'd like my children to be safe. Same here. All right, so we got that covered. What's the, and then, but we get stuck on, your grandfather said something about my grandfather. I found my mother for years would sort of badmouth one of my relatives, older aunt, and I never knew why. And I said, what is the thing? She goes, yeah, she said something I didn't care for. I said, when was that? She goes, 1947. I went, okay, let it go.
So on the radio show, I did a thing. There was a run ages ago where I connected people who had falling out. So, and I put on two sisters who hadn't talked for 15 years, and they cried. I surprised the one and had the other on. They didn't remember what it was.
Why?
They couldn't even remember what it was, why they disliked the other one. But something happened.
Yeah.
And they never reached out. I said, you guys, how many heartbeats you got left?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And broke down and people create
You
scenarios.
know, you've seen the clip when Sinatra brings Dean Martin out to see
with
Jerry Lewis, and it's like, it's so moving. And you know both those guys loved each other, and yet there was such silliness. And at that point, but it's interesting that he really surprised him with that. I mean,
And Jerry's first line was brilliant. You working?
And did they did they get friendly? Was that a rapprochement where they then, after that, I don't remember,
I do not know.
actually stayed in touch?
I'm sure they did. I remember reading Jerry Lewis talking about seeing Dean at the end of Dean's life.
Wow.
What is next for you, and what do you want? I hate to be one of those. You've done it all, Paul Reiser. You've done it all. But is there something that you go, boy, before I hang this up, I'd really like to do that kind of a role, work with that kind of person, go back to the stage, do another series. What do you think? What do you like?
I'm a big fan of doing nothing. Nothing makes me happier than doing nothing.
I don't see you though as a sitting still
I
kind
know,
of guy. When you
I
do
know.
nothing,
People go,
I
but you
bet
do
you're
so
doing
much.
something.
I go, yeah, but I really love, like, on a given day, I've really gotten into the last couple of years of reading and buying books. And like, if I live to be 100, I'm not going to finish the books I bought. Why are you buying more? Because I might not like that one.
Right.
But sometimes I'll have an idea, and I don't have a burning passion to do something. There's a part of me that still thinks I want to do my music, and I've never really, somewhere I believe, like, I have one piece of music or some music that I want to put out. I've written songs with people, but I think, I'd love to. You know, when I hear like a great instrumental or soundtracking, going, that's a thing that lasts forever. It's like, okay, you know, he already wrote Cinema Paradiso, but maybe I could write something that would make you pull over and weep. So that's like a sort of wish. But I don't sit at home thinking, boy, I mean, I'm happy to go out and do stand-up. It's like I would love that to take off. I would love to play a little bigger and more frequently. But until something comes up, like I'm actually writing a show with my son that we actually sold. And I went, okay, and that it was somebody else came to me, not the idea, but just the invitation. We'd like you to do a show. I went, I don't know. You want to write a show with me? Yeah, okay. And we fucking sold it. So that, even if it goes nowhere, it's like, all right, I'm going to write it.
Yeah.
But by the way, for somebody who likes to do nothing, you wrote a show as you wrote a show with your son. You got The Boys coming out. You got Stranger Things coming out. You're probably writing some screenplay that you like. I mean, you're really busy, but you don't think you're busy.
You know, I'm going to let you behind the scenes a little bit. On one hand, you know, you do publicity, and this isn't even publicity because I'm not promoting anything. We're just chatting. But you do publicity, you want people to run out and see the things,
right.
and he's so busy, you got to go see this guy. The Boys I did 4 days a week ago. Stranger Things I did 2 years ago. So it's not like, we watched it all in 1 week. Yeah, but I did it over 3 years.
You're touring, but you're also the stand-up
yeah, but
thing
even
took a while.
touring, you know,
that's constant work to write.
You see it like somebody's T-shirt and like with Ford in the back. Here's the 60 cities they're doing. Every other weekend I go somewhere for 2 days. Like I'm not hurting anybody.
If I sent you the right thing, would you do a show in New York?
Maybe, because I'm kind of itching to like go to New York, to live in New York.
Yeah.
Every time I'm there for like a few days, I'm like, be nice to be, I think, at this point in life to spend 6 months. What, a Broadway show?
Yeah.
I never say no to anything, but I mean, I never say no to the possibility of something. I can't imagine doing a show.
It's a
lot of work, isn't it?
Larry David,
you got to be awake. You got to be limber.
One day I will write down, because it's a great story. And Peter was with me. Larry David, when he was going to go do the play that he wrote in New York, he called, and Larry and I don't socialize all that much. He called me and said, I want to take you to lunch. And I go to lunch and I go, what is this going to be? And he goes, so I'm doing the play. Am I going to like this? And he goes, what happens? How does this work? And I literally walked him from day one of rehearsal through all the rehearsals, how it would go, what previews would be like, what tech would be like, good opening night, what that would be like, what a bad opening night, what that would be like, and then the next week and the next week and the next week, until I said about 6 weeks after you open on a Thursday afternoon around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, as you sit in your apartment, and you know that you got to leave in 4 hours to get to the theater, you'd rather drive a nice pick through your own eye. There's no way you want to go down there and that you would have. I had it wrong by about 2 weeks. He called me.
4 weeks.
You got to come in here. You got to come in. And I wound up replacing him in the show because it drove him out of his mind.
But the great thing about that lunch is Larry sits down. I think we were already seated. And Larry goes, so I'm doing the Broadway show. Congratulations. He goes, no, I don't know why I did this. I don't know why I said yeah.
I don't want to do it.
I got old man's voice. What am I going to do? He did a rundown of every reason not to do it and why he's panicked.
I kind of feel that, not panicking, but like my agent will call me something, I go, I'm going to look at it like, oh, it shoots in, well, I don't want to go there. Like, or
the Michael Caine school of picking a
yeah,
film.
but even like stand up, I go, hey, we got this great theater. And I go, is it 2 flights to get there? I don't want to do 2 flights.
Too.
I
From
go,
my personal appearance, I don't like to change flights.
Yeah, when it changed plane, that's a whole day.
William H. Macy said, when I was interviewing him, there are 3 stages in my career. He said, the first, and when you're younger, it's, oh my God, this could make my career. The second is, how much does it pay? And the third is, do I have to get wet? Paul Reiser, thank you for coming.
This was great fun.
Paul,
I don't know why everybody badmouths
go
the
read his
show.
books.
I found this was
At
delightful.
least they're talking about us, right?
That's right.
They said, don't do that. That'll be the end. No.
Because
We're talking
And you know
about
what?
it.
Normally we wrap up after the show. I've got nothing left to say, right? Do you have anything you want to add when Paul leaves behind his back? Like,
You call me. Maybe we'll do a follow-up after his wife watches the movie.
I like that.
I wanted to watch the movie. You know what's great? What's great is
He
I
never
love-
forgets.
I
He's
love-
like Horton the
I love that
elephant.
he's
Never
torn up
forgets.
inside like we are. You can't let go.
That's
you
right.
can't let go.
That
He's
was
still
for
going.
yours,
You
for
only
your
give him
amusement.
9.5 stars out of 10.
I'm still. You had me at. You saw the movie. I'm like, okay, that's you
No,
and
it was
11 other
it really
people.
was wonderful. And you also wrote it, produced it, and directed it. I mean, that's a major...
I didn't direct
Oh, you
it.
didn't direct it. Excuse me.
Direct.
Why didn't you direct it? You couldn't direct? You're not a good director?
I've never directed. I never wanted to direct. I wrote this movie. I'm in this movie. I don't want to put the movie in the hands of somebody who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Let me get a guy who knows
the
what he's
casting
doing.
was amazing. The problem with people, he's on tour, and a surprise guest.
Can't you see?
Get
I'm in
near
the middle
a
of the
microphone,
conference.
for God's sake. Move into
Move into
a
a
microphone,
microphone
for
so people-
God's sake.
Don't waste this. What are you
Share
doing?
a chair. Share it.
Carol Leifer, ladies and gentlemen.
Carol Leifer, come see.
Is it Leifer or Lifer? How do you
Oh,
pronounce
please.
that?
Now,
I wanted to say, because I feel like this story embarrasses you every time I tell it, but Paul is the reason I got into comedy.
I thought your father was the reason you got into comedy. What are you telling me? If my
father
prep
was,
is wrong?
Yeah, instrumental. But this is the guy that told me about the clubs
That's true.
in college. We went to audition night, blah, blah, blah. So I just felt that.
By the
Wow.
way, the way we're sitting here, this is Willie Tyler and Lester.
I was going to say, oh my God. It's such a throwback.
Let's jump in. Come on, my big night. What do you do?
Not even Wayland Flower and
No,
Matt
by
Willie
the
Wayland,
way,
Tyler and
right?
Lester.
Just as an aside, they're still performing. God bless them. They're still on the road.
Oh, and
you dated for how long?
You know what? As long as he could take it. A lot of girls will say, you know what? A month is good. Carol hung in there longer.
Paul Reiser, I love you more than matzah on Passover.
And I love you more than the blue pants you wore on your special. Thank you very much. Good choice. Good choice. Special's good. The
This is an easy show.
Outfit is a 10. The comedy's a
9.5,
solid 8.
you said.
Solid 8.
9.5,
But the
right?
outfit's
Okay.
outfit is a 10.